Are you doing it?
Nope, you're gonna lead it. Can you do this one, number 7, go out of order and flip 6 and 7? The applicant is requesting it for particulars. So, and there's no longer times associated with these, and
Yeah, I
they're still
see
for the
that.
same item. So if you can do 5,
Okay.
7, then 6.
Oh, boy, okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
No, it doesn't look like that at
We
all.
made a different note saying these are all interrelated. It's okay.
Let's see. I guess that is,
Is it ready?
I agree with this.
Sorry, Amanda, I'm used to you being in the corner. Okay, if everyone's ready, I feel very loud. Does it sound loud? Yeah, okay. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, June 22nd meeting of the Plan Commission. It is 7 p.m. I'll begin with the roll call. I am Kim Smith, the chair. Tom Smith?
Here.
Jared Holter?
Here.
Dan Brock? Newt Temte?
Present.
Craig Brightsprecher?
Present.
And Gargi Shanduri is excused, correct? Okay. Item 2, consideration and action on the minutes from the previous meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes from the meeting from May 25th, 2021.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Craig, seconded by Tom to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Item 3 is public input. If anyone would like to address the committee, now is the time to do so. Please begin by stating your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes per individual. Would anyone like to address the Plan Commission this evening? Second call. If anyone from the public would like to address the committee, this is the time to do so.
Again, sorry, this is my first time, but item 3, can you reference which one that is?
It's item 3 is public input.
Oh, so it's
Just general public input. We will be having, and I understand it's confusing because we do have public hearings scheduled this evening also. So during the public hearing is also another time to speak to the committee, but this is just something general that's not on, if there's something not on the agenda that you wanted to talk about, this would be the time. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thank you for speaking up because we don't want you to sit there and not know what's going on. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, last call for public input. Okay. Public input is now closed. We'll move on. Consideration and possible action on the following items. Item 4 is a public hearing to amend the Pineville Estates subdivision planned unit development, properties along Beverly Drive and Mary Drive related to defining special side yard setbacks. The applicants are the City of Onalaska and the Pineview Estates Architectural Committee. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Now is the time to come up to the podium, state your name and address, and tell us why you're in favor.
Good evening. My name is Ann Brando. I'm a member of the Architectural Committee for Pineview Estates. Just here to reiterate that the Architectural Committee brought this request to the Plan Commission after consultation with the majority of the neighbors in the subdivision, and that we have previously had their approval to request that these setbacks, special setbacks, be adopted by the Plan Commission.
Thank you. Amanda?
Sam Cinta, who is online, would like to give a public comment.
Thank you. Sam, please state your name and address and go ahead.
Yes, my name is Sam Shinta, 4104 Beverly Drive, and I am one of the residents impacted by this special side
Sam, we're
yard
not
setback.
hearing you.
Oh, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me now?
We'll just pause and hope Sam can figure it out. Or Amanda, as the case may be.
Okay, Sam, try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, there we go. Okay, terrific. I was just in the process of typing a long message in the chat there. My name is Sam Shinta. I'm at 4104 Beverly Drive. I'm one of the citizens impacted by this special yard side yard setback. And I just wanted to echo Ms. Brandow and thank her and the other members of the Architectural Committee for Pineview Estates, as well as the City of Onalaska, for your flexibility in working through this. The neighbors I have spoken with are very much in favor of this process. And again, just wanted to thank the city for working with us on this situation.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor?
Mark Hansen, 4046 Beverly Drive. I want to echo the same comments that Sam said, that we had neighborhood kind of consensus of it, and really appreciate the city willing to work with us with this. So really do appreciate the city working on this. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Second call. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the amendment for Pineview Estates subdivision? Last call. Okay, that portion is now closed. Now I'll ask if anyone would like to speak against the amendment to the Pineview Estates subdivision plan unit development. Would anyone like to speak against? This is the third and final call. If anyone would like to speak against the amendment to the Pineview Estates subdivision. Okay, the public hearing is now closed. I'll turn it over to our city planner, Katie Aspenson, for a brief summary of the staff work on this. Katie?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the second time that the PUD amendment for the Pineview Estates has come forward to the Plan Commission. The original final plat was approved in 1996 with 28 parcels, 1 residence and 1 park. And thereafter, residences began being constructed. In 1999, the PUD was approved, which had special setbacks for the 27 residential parcels. However, some of those homes were built before those setbacks were in effect at the time. We did not receive a map that had all the special setbacks detailed, so it was difficult for the inspection department to make sure that this special setback was being followed. As stated, however, in research, a different department had a partial copy of the covenant, so we were able to verify that that was in effect in place. As of 2012, the Pineview Estates subdivision is fully built out, and only 16 of those parcels have the required 20-foot side yard setback, and the remaining 11 are considered non-conforming as they were either built before the setbacks were installed or while they were built after the setback was required, but it was not enforced. So due to the timing of the PUD and the construction of residences, we want to make sure that we're going to clean this up, which is the intent of bringing this forward this evening. Included in the map is a setback created by the city, so it shows the averaging of all of those. So we have been able to identify which parcels are and which are not in conformance with the special 20-foot side yard setback. Previously, staff brought forward a recommendation that was not supported by the subdivision residents. As stated by the people that came forward this evening, the city has worked with the ARC committee, and a new solution has been proposed to specifically amend the Pineview Estates PUD to require the following setbacks only for principal structures: a rear yard 30-foot minimum. The street yard, they were allowed to have varied street yard setbacks that were defined by the city. And then the side yard setback, that there is to be a minimum of 20-foot side yard setback, except for the 11 properties as indicated on the attached setback map. Those 11 properties would be allowed their individual side yard setbacks as they exist today, but they're not allowed to encroach further in beyond where they're at. If the city approves this action, the 11 properties would be in conformance with the PUD and would no longer be considered non-conforming properties. If in the future a property owner within this PUD wanted to change their side yard setback, they would first have to obtain permission from the ARC. And if the ARC approved it, they would have to come forward to the city and they would have to amend the PUD on a lot by lot basis. That way we would keep everyone intact. The city is requesting approval of this PUD amendment, and we have put together 8 conditions of approval for this development.
Okay, thank you for that, Katie. What is the pleasure of the Plan Commission?
I'll make a motion that we approve amending the Pine View Estates subdivision plan unit development properties along Beverly Drive and Mary Drive related to the defined special side yard setbacks with the 8 conditions identified in item agenda number 4.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Tom, seconded by Craig, to approve the item with 8 conditions. Is there discussion? Jan?
Just a question, Katie. What if one of these homes would say damaged, burn or something? Would they be able to build back to the original size they are, or would they have to meet the new setbacks?
They would be allowed to go to the setback as they stand today,
Then today.
if you approve this. Mhm.
Okay, Alder Smith?
I'd just like to thank the architect committee and the city because, I think it's nice to be able to work out our, issues when we have some things that don't work at first time to go back to the board. So congratulations to both sides and thank you for your cooperation on both ends. So that's great.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. The motion on the floor is to approve. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you for coming in, you all. Okay, next up, item 5 is a public hearing to annex lands from the town of Madera and the town of Hamilton to the city of Onalaska, 28.25 acres at the end of Emerald Valley Drive. This is tax parcel ID number 9-35-0 and portions of tax parcels 9-34-0, 7-1356-0, and 7-1357-0. The applicant is Elmwood Partners Limited Partnership. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this annexation, now is the time to do so. Please come up, state your name and address, and let us know why you're in favor of this annexation.
Kevin Fry, Elmwood Partners, 1859 Sand Lake Road, Onalaska, here to speak in favor of the annexation. Again, as what was said, is essentially 28 acres in town of Hamilton and Madera. The intent of the annexation is to further extend the 4th edition of the plan for the country club, which was the last addition to the country club on the west side of the golf course. And this annexation is just to complete that 4th edition. If any questions, I'll be here to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the annexation? Second call for those wishing to speak in favor of the annexation. Last call for those in favor. That portion of the public hearing is now closed, and I will open the public hearing to people wishing to speak against the annexation of the property as described.
Try not to be wishy-washy, but I'm not sure if I'm actually against it, so maybe we can have some questions. But Eric Wilson, W5336 Bar Road, and as of last week, we are now the owners to the east of the new subdivision that's proposed. So that was a quite surprise on our closing day. That instead of looking out into the bluff land of Peter Barr and Nathan Hill, which we bought to preserve, might be 17 homes. So really my wife and I and our kids, we did buy that to preserve it from a bluff land standpoint, and we're seeing it built up everywhere else. Hopefully someday to give it back and keep it that way. So I'm not against homes, but I am against some of the setbacks, cutting into the bluff land, and really just changing the scenery in general. So if it's close to the country club and people are viewing the country club and that's where they want to be, more power to them. If you want to cut into the bluff lands, take some of that habitat away, that's something that I'd like to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak against? We're having a public hearing for item number 5 on our agenda, and we're asking for people to speak against. Thank you. Okay, this is the third and final call for anyone wishing to speak against the annexation as described in item number 5. Okay, the public hearing is now closed. We'll turn this over to our city planner for a description and city summary.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant intends to annex a total of 28.25 acres of vacant farmland and blufflands via 4 different tax parcels from the town of Madera and the town of Hamilton into the city, with the intention of further dividing the parcels via a subdivision plat for single-family housing development known as the 4th addition to the Country Club Estates. The municipal boundary is directly adjacent to the south and eastern portions of the subject parcels, and the parcels will be accessed off of an extension of Emerald Valley Drive. The subject land is proposed to be zoned low-density residential R1 upon annexation. Further, you'll see with additional items, they are requesting a planned unit development to establish special building envelope setbacks for the future development. The city staff have put together a total of 7 conditions tied to this development.
Thank you for that, Katie. So at this point, we're considering the annexation with the 7 conditions. What is the pleasure of the Plan Commission?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion to approve the motion with 7 conditions by Jared Holter, seconded by Craig Breitsprecher. Is there discussion? Not seeing any discussion. Okay, the motion is to approve with 7 conditions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I'm going to go slightly out of order here. I'm going to go to item 7, which is the public hearing for the 4th addition to the Country Club Estates preliminary plat application containing 17 residential parcels at the end of Emerald Valley Drive, including tax parcel ID numbers 18-3566-100 and 9-35-0, and portions of tax parcel ID numbers 9-34-0, 7-1356-0, and 7-1357-0. I'll now open the public hearing and ask for anyone wishing to speak in favor of the 4th edition Country Club Estates preliminary plat.
Again, Kevin Fry, Ellen Partners, 1859 Sand Lake Road, Onalaska. So again, this is the extension of Emerald Valley Drive on the west side of the golf course. This will be the last addition on the west side. This is going to include 11 golf course lots, 4 uphill lots, and 2 estate lots in the far north end. This is a portion of a development that's been in the works for over a couple decades, and we understand the difficulties of having development expand this long. We appreciate city staff working with us through this long. I mean, the UDC, things have changed, staff has changed. We understand that part of it, but staff has done very well working with this and trying to keep this development moving through over this 20+ years this has been going on. One thing that has changed a little bit in the last week or so, that we've been working with MVC for quite some time on 51 acres on the northern part of this. Katie, did you hand that map out?
Yes, ma'am.
You want me to hand it out? Yes. So that piece on the northern end of it, extending to the east and to the south, and then along the east side, there's a portion that's the MVC already owns in the French Valley part of it. And that's the part that's in like a little orangish color. It's a kind of odd shape. So we're working with them as far as with that property over there. And one of their requests is that Ellen petitions the city to annex that property. We've agreed to that part of it to go into the city as part of one of the conditions. I believe it's going to be added to the plat tonight. There are a couple other conditions on the wording of stuff that's in the conditions. You want to go over that stuff now, or do you want to wait till after the public hearing to go over those? It's a couple, this is the wording things on the water main and so forth. Which one do you want to do?
I can address them as part of the plat.
What's that?
I'll address those as part of the plat.
So wait till afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're in the public hearing. We're asking for those wishing to speak in favor of this preliminary plat. Anyone wishing to speak in favor?
My name is John Boland. I live at 348 South 19th Street in La Crosse. I'm an adjoining landowner. I'm not speaking in favor or against. I don't know why you force people to make that sort of speaking for information. I have a couple questions. Also, the issue that's just been raised of extending the annexation further north is an issue that is germane to my interest too. The primary issue and the primary question I have, which unfortunately I was not able to speak to the planner. Hi, I'm sorry I didn't get your return call. I know that Elmwood has a well and pumping station and water holding tank that's located to the west on top of the bluff at the end of one of the other drives there. And looking at the information that was added here at the point where these documents were submitted, the letter from Elmwood says the proposed water will extend north in Emerald Valley Drive. We are currently working on the design for serving the two larger parcels on the north end, and more detail will be included in the utilities plans. And so that is my primary interest. I would be very unhappy about them putting another holding tank adjoining or close to my property and putting a service road up to it. I don't want the top of that bluff developed. I know that there are 30-degree slopes there, so that might hinder their ability to do that, and it might not be in their plans to do that, so I'd like some clarification on that. Also, if this proposed further annexation, does that come back before this board, or is that something that you would take up tonight? Those are my two issues.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of the preliminary plat application? Second call for anyone speaking in favor of the fourth addition to the Country Club Estates preliminary plat application. Last call for those in favor. We'll close that portion and we'll now open it up for anyone who would like to speak against the fourth addition to the Country Club Estates preliminary plat.
Eric Wilson, I think you got my address before. Again, we have 37 acres directly to the east. Primary concern is the upper plots, again, cutting into what I consider a historical bluff with Nathan Smith, Nathan Hill, and I would hate to see it developed into that bluff. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak against? Second call for those wishing to speak against. Third and final call if anyone would like to speak against the preliminary plat. Okay, the public hearing is now closed and I'll turn it over to our city planner for a brief summary of the item.
Thank you, Mayor. This preliminary plat is to facilitate a development consisting of 17 parcels north of the existing residences on Emerald Valley Drive, which wraps around the La Crosse County Golf Course on the western and northern sides. All parcels are to contain single-family residences, which is consistent with the previous additions of the Country Club Estate. The annexation petition is comprised of lands in both the town of Madera and the town of Holland, and they are going to be included on the northern side of this development. Further, if the preliminary plat is approved, they will be required to obtain and apply for the necessary final plat approvals with the Department of Administration. City staff have put together a total of 27 conditions for this development.
Yeah,
Yes, it's Hamilton. I apologize for misspeaking.
it is not the town of Holland. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, we'll turn this matter over to the Plan Commission.
Just to confirm, we're on item.
Item 7,
for the
yes.
plat, or Are we on the general development?
We're on the preliminary plat, item
Which is
7.
Item 7.
Item 7. We went out of order on purpose,
Okay.
Okay, that's what I was throwing me too.
which I thought I said in the beginning, but,
Sorry.
Okay. I was getting confused.
and I kept saying preliminary plat to make sure everybody knew.
On 6 for a while.
Okay, so we skipped 6 for.
We have not done 6 yet. We're doing number 7 for the preliminary plat.
Russ,
Greg.
okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plat to the Country Club Estates containing 17 residential parcels at the end of Emerald Valley Drive, including tax parcels 18-3566-100 and 9.35-0, and portions of tax parcels number 9-34-0, 7-1356-0, and 7-1357-0 with the 27 conditions recommended by staff.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
So a motion on the floor by Craig, seconded by Tom, to approve the preliminary plat with the 27 conditions. Is there any discussion? Jared?
So as you know, this area has an extensive water system plan in this area, and it's actually served by a secondary zone that is served by its own booster stations and reservoirs. As part of this, when Country Club Estates came in the early 90s, booster station was installed that was eventually replaced. It is run by the city. It's city service water system in this area. The developer Elmwood Partners installed that water system within the Country Club Lane and then subsequently through the Country Club Estates additions 1, 2, and 3, and now we're on to addition 4. They also built and funded a reservoir at the end of Country Club Lane that serves this specific pressure zone. In relation to item number 4, or condition number 4, which is on your attachment tonight, when the city started designing and planning of a booster station to serve the Crestwood French Road area, we looked at the service area for that booster station, and that service area extended around the French Road area and over toward the Country Club Estates Edition proposed areas. At the time, we did not have a firm document submitted that would have showed where the plats were going to start and end. And at that point, we had planned on the water main connecting all the way around the golf course and then connecting back into French Road. With this plat that has been submitted today, that is showing the Emerald Valley Drive East ending before the end of the golf course. So this plat will be totally served by infrastructure, water infrastructure that was funded by the developer, including the reservoir at the end of Country Club Lane and also a golf course crossing that is at the end of Country Club Lane that extends to Marco Road. So with that, they will not see any benefit from the Crestwood Booster Station project that was installed and is going in service soon. So it is my recommendation that we remove condition number 4, and I will actually take it back to the Board of Public Works to amend the map for that service area, because with the new information we have at hand today with where the road is ending, the development will not receive benefit from that booster station. They'll be using their existing services. So with that explanation, I would make a friendly amendment that we remove item number 4 from the conditions list that you see today.
Thank you, Jared. Do we have a second on the amendment?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Jared, seconded by Craig to remove condition number 4 from the conditions listed for the preliminary plat application. Is there discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of approving the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Amendment is approved. So now back to discussion on approving the preliminary plat with the 27 conditions with the amendment removing condition number 4. Jared?
So if we go to item number 13, condition number 13, once again, we originally wrote this condition expecting the water main would go around the golf course like we just had talked about. We have now talked to the developer, and I would like to amend that condition to now read the condition 13 would read owner/developer to extend water main with an easement along property line of an easterly lot to the east line of the plat. So thereby we would, if you go to the plat that is included in your packet as page 29, you can see there's a variety of easterly lots that are along the golf course. We would work with the developer within their development to extend the water main through an easement that would be dedicated to the city. So we would then be able to, at some point, extend the water main across the golf course to get a looped water system into the French Road area at a future date. But this would be in the city's best interest because we don't want to see that water main with no one hooked to it going all the way around the golf course and have probably could be anywhere from a half mile to a mile water main with no services. So this would be the shorter way. It's actually shown this way in the master plan that was done by Davy Engineering back in the middle 90s for the secondary service zone. So I would make once again, another friendly amendment to the motion on item number 13 to read owner developer to extend water main to an easement along the property line of an easterly lot to the east line of the plat.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
We have a motion on the floor to amend condition 13 as Jared described. The motion was by Jared Holter. Second was by Tom Smith. Is there discussion on the amendment to condition 13?
I'll second that.
Tom already seconded it.
Tom got it.
Jared made the motion and Tom.
Oh, we did.
Yep. Okay. So under discussion, Craig?
Yeah, this has been brought up, at least in general reference for years now, how to handle that. And Jared, thanks for catching that. I mean, this is a good solution to that challenge.
Within the development, correct. It would be within the lands that are being developed current in the plat that's shown.
Okay. Any other discussion? Jared?
In discussion of the water main in general, because I know we had discussion with the audience. In this plan, the water main would be interconnected, hopefully in a future time. We do have a booster station along Crestwood Lane. The city would pursue a reservoir at a future date at some point along that system on the Crestwood Lane area. There was a site identified in the original French Valley plat that we had identified as a site for a reservoir, but that's for planning purposes. We have not officially put where we're going to put the reservoir, but sometime planning wise, it could be 10 years, could be 20 years, but the city at some point will pursue a reservoir in that area. Very much like the reservoir that's getting installed currently in Greens Coulee. If you went up to, looked at the one in Greens Coulee or heard about that, we've taken great measures to tuck it into the bluff, save trees, do everything like that. But there will be a future reservoir at some point out in this area, not regarding to this plat once again. This plat is still served off the other zone, but just trying to be, since the questions came up, at some point there will be more work to be done out in the Crestwood Lane area.
Depending upon development.
Correct.
Okay, any other discussion by the committee? Okay, what we have on the floor right now is, sorry, Jan, go ahead, and then Katie after Jan. We're discussing the amendment right now, condition 13. Okay, so we're done discussing the amendment to condition 13. We have the wording for the owner to extend the water main as Jared described. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay, this amendment passes unanimously. So now we're back to the original motion about the preliminary plat. Jan, did you have a question then?
Jared, number 6, condition number 6, are there a lot of, properties that would be above that? Or can you kind of explain
No,
that too?
there's no properties that are going to be above the 930 elevation in this plat, but we always put that on there just in case someone, just in that secondary zone, we want to outline what the service area is.
Thank you. And then Katie?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to add one additional condition at the end. So I believe we're at it will be the new 27, so for 28 at this point. And it is owner developer to annex the remnants of tax parcels number 7-1356-0, 7-1357-0, and 9-34-0, which is approximately 51 acres into the city of Onalaska, which directly abut the 4th addition to the Country Club Estates preliminary plat. I would ask that Plan Commission member would offer another friendly amendment to add that condition to this development.
Thank you. Would someone like to make that motion regarding the remnant properties, remnant parcels?
I'd make that motion
Okay.
as stated by our planner, Katie Aspenson.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Jared Holter, seconded by Tom Smith, to add an additional condition regarding annexation of the remnant properties. Is there any other discussion on that motion or that amendment?
I can explain the.
Can you further explain, Katie, just cleaning it up?
Yep. So as mentioned by the developer, they are looking to, they've been working with the Mississippi Valley Conservancy with the intent to donate that land to that entity. And the Mississippi Valley Conservancy wants that land in the city of Onalaska, as the hope is that maybe the city would be able to become a future owner of that property, which ties in with our Greenway plan. So I'm requesting that that land be required to be annexed. I would like to know that the owner has already given me the annexation petition. So it's the intent that this will go at the next meeting, provided all the documentation has been provided. So we are in support of the annexation request.
Okay, thank you. We are not taking input from the public at this time. Okay, so we have a amendment on the floor to add the condition about the remnants, and that's what we're going to make the motion on now. So the motion is to approve or to vote on. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now we're back to the original motion to approve the preliminary plat with all the conditions. Jared.
Just as a note for this plat, this area has been, as we know, I've been with the city 25 years and even before I started with the city, the Country Club Estates plat was already started. And it was the goal at that time to put various lots and things around the edge of the golf course. Looking at the area that this 4th edition to Country Club Estates is proposing to develop at the north end of the golf course. I always get which side's which, the front 9 or the back 9, but the easterly part of the golf course on the north end, it's relatively cleared out in there, and it's actually the more developable, flatter ground. And with the developer's proposal to put 2 lots at the end, it actually is probably going to be less impact as far as homes, because there's probably more land back there. You could have probably put in more lots than what they're showing today. So I think this is with showing what has been planned for many years in this area. And it's following that general direction. And in actuality, it's probably lower impact than what would have been proposed had this been the same style of development you saw on the other side of the golf course that was done anywhere from 15 to 25 years ago.
Thank you for that, Jared. Any other, Katie?
I'd like to address the question from the audience related to the annexation.
Sure.
So for the condition that was added, the applicant would have to come back and reapply. So that annexation petition is not under discussion this evening. It's just the one that was mailed to you. So provided the documentation comes in at the next plan commission meeting, there would be another public hearing, but it would specifically focus on that additional land.
The remnants?
Correct. So the previous annexation request was only portions of some parcels. So when I say remnant, it's the remainder of those parcels. So then we would be able to collect all of that land that was in the town of Madera and Hamilton, and we wouldn't have portions that are outstanding any further.
Okay. Does that answer your question, sir?
Well, he doesn't. This
It's out of order.
isn't about.
Okay, sir, you're out of order right now. We do have public hearings and we can address those questions with you, just not right at this moment. Yes. But it's not, it's out of bounds to have a dialogue with, we're having a committee meeting and we have opportunities for public input. It's not appropriate for the committee to be having dialogue with the audience. We do care what you have to say and we want to hear it. We just need to follow our proper decorum for our meeting. Thank you, sir. Okay, so we have item 7 on the floor, which is a motion to approve the preliminary plat. It originally had 27 conditions. We've amended several of them, and that's the motion that's on the floor. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? Okay, are we ready to vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now we'll go up to item number 6, which is a public hearing for a general development plan application to create the 4th addition to the Country Club Estates planned unit development containing 17 residential parcels to allow for special building envelope setbacks at the end of Emerald Valley Drive, including tax parcels 18-3566100 and 9-35-0, and portions of tax parcel ID numbers 9-34-0, 7-1356-0, and 7-1357-0. So if anyone would like to speak in favor of this planned unit development, now is the time to do so. Please come forward, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you, sir.
Kevin Fry, L1 Partners, 1859 Sand Lake Road. So this PUD is an overlay of the preliminary plat that you just were talking about in the 4th edition. Throughout the Country Club editions, throughout all the years, setbacks have been varied with all the residents for the flexibility to work with the topography within the homes. Within this plat, the 4 uphill lots and the 2 estate lots is what's triggering the PUD. All the golf course lots are actually beyond city setbacks. City setbacks are perfectly fine. We included the whole 4th edition just to keep it cleaner for the city in the future. So when I pull out the 4th edition, everything's on one page and it's not a confusion of that part of it. One thing, I hope this doesn't take longer than 3 minutes. Somebody have a calculator? I just want to run through this quick. Jared, perfect, I knew you would. So I just want to run through this quick thing. So we're going to ask for the open space requirement to be waived on the subdivision. And I just want to go through this quick. We take 15 lots times a 5,000 square foot footprint for the home, plus 15 lots times 2,500 square foot for the driveway, plus 2 estate lots times 5,000 square foot footprint for the homes, plus a 30,000 square foot driveway for the 2 estate lot homes, just a rough number. Now take 1,700 feet of sidewalk times 5 foot, 1,700 feet of new city street times 32 feet wide, and divide by 43,560.
4.94 acres.
That's the amount of impervious coverage potentially out of the 90 acres of the development. That's part of so this is a complete open development we're doing. That's the part of the country club. All these developments are bigger lots. They're more wooded lots, the whole thing's been laid out like this from day one, or this part of it. That's part of the reason why I'm asking for the open space required or waived. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Second call for anyone wishing to speak in favor of item number 6 regarding the planned unit development. Third and final call for those wishing to speak in favor. Okay, that portion of the public hearing is now closed. Anyone wishing to speak against the planned unit development for the 4th addition to Country Club Estates, now is the time to do so. Those wishing to speak against.
Thank you. I've already identified myself.
Can you please do so again for our
Sure. My name is
transcriptionist?
John Boland.
Thank you.
I live at 348 South 19th Street in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I'm an adjoining property owner. Unfortunately, I have not been privy to all the documents and the changes that have taken place tonight. And I have to be prepared to take a for or against position on this, which of course doesn't deal with any of the nuances of the situation. I would like to ask a question, and that is this area that's been identified as the remnant area that's outlined on this aerial photo. Is this the area that Elmwood Partners are proposing to be turned over to conservancy land that was mentioned in the previous discussion?
Okay, so the correct format then is for you to list off your questions, and when everybody is done and we go back, we may answer those questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I want to know what the disposition of that, what the proposed disposition of that property is. I do not know where the 2 estate parcels are. I have not been able to figure out, given the information that we got tonight and the information on the documents that I was sent, where the 2 estate parcels we're talking about, although it seems to me that that must be at the northern end of the development. I don't know the alignment of the proposed main that you're talking about, so if you could clarify that. I understand what you're talking about when you say that the reservoir would go, previously had been proposed to go above Crestwood and that other development to the east. I think I understand what you're talking about in terms of creating a loop main. I just wonder, you know, I haven't seen any document that shows what the alignment is. I'm curious about that. And the other comment I'll make, which is just actually an aside. In one of the documents I was sent, there was a series of proposed conditions. Page 2, item E, dimensional and design standards. Under item 7, common open space. I know that this development is around a country club and there are tennis courts and swimming pools and golf courses for members of the country club. One doesn't assume that all of the residents are necessarily members of the country club. I also know that the developer has worked with Mississippi Valley Conservancy to have open spaces for hiking, I would assume, nature viewing, that sort of thing, which is a very laudable attitude for them to take. I do think, in agreement with the staff report, that some provision for recreational facilities, in addition to the golf course and country club, is advisable for people to throw a Frisbee around or a ball or do something like that. Okay, that's my comments. Any questions you can answer, I would appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak against the plan unit development? Second call for anyone wishing to speak against the 4th addition to the Country Club Estates plan unit development. Third and final call for those wishing to speak against? The public hearing is now closed, and I will turn this over to our city planner for a brief summary. Katie?
Thank you, Mayor. This area is considered in our comprehensive plan future for environmentally sensitive residential for lower density single-family development on compact lots, and also the environmental corridor, as there are many areas within the section that have 30% slopes, which do not allow your general development for installation of homes. As stated, this PUD is to allow for special setbacks for predefined building pads to make best use of topography, and then also to match the existing development that is south of, with the previous additions to the Country Club Estates, and then also a reduction in the open space requirement. So I'll jump to E under 4, which is yard setbacks. The applicant is requesting that the maximum rear yard setback of 30 feet be waived, and further that they're proposing to exceed the minimum R1 setback and establish special building elements for all 17 parcels. Where not otherwise specified, the applicant is proposing the following setbacks and building elements shown on the individual parcels: street yard of 25 feet, side yard of 50 feet, and a rear yard of 50 feet. As stated by the applicant, the purpose of the larger setbacks are to accommodate topographic limitations and to follow the current style of development that is shown in previous Country Club Estate additions. As with many developments coming forward that are in the Bluffland area, city staff have been supportive of those requests due to the reasons stipulated above. We want to not impede on 30% slopes. The developer will not allowed to be able to impact those unless for access purposes or utility installations. So they'll have to have the ability to maneuver where those slopes do not exist in addition to buffers. So city staff are in support of that request. Under item number 7, common open space, the applicant is requesting that the UDC code 13.02.32E7 requiring that PUD overlays provide a minimum of 15% open space be waived in entirety. Previous additions were not required to provide the common open space, and they wish to continue this practice for the final addition to the Country Club Estates. The remainder portion of the statement is that they are now looking to annex in the future additional Blufflands, the remnant tax parcels. As stated, they are working with MVC to preserve those lands and asking the Plan Commission to consider this potential exchange as the intent for common open space. So that's one of the reasons why we jumped around in the agenda, as we wanted to make it known to the Plan Commission that the applicant is moving forward to bring that land into the city, that they are continuing to work with MVC and to support that request. So the summary that I had written in the document previously, this is new information as of today. So city staff are in support of this. It's the intent that if the city and our MVC become the end results, that we could amend the PUD and bring this into it, thereby well providing more than the 15% minimum open space that's required. So that's the reason for jumping around in the agenda. I apologize for any confusion that may have caused folks. So city staff are now in support, provided that annexation occur. And as stated, the applicant is already making good on that annexation application, as they have already applied to the city and are beginning that process. City staff have put together a total of 11 conditions of approval for this development. Items 10 and 11 are written as the applicant has requested.
Okay, I just have one question. Listening to what you were saying regarding condition number 11, wouldn't we need to state that that was conditional upon, what if it didn't happen though?
So that's why we already acknowledged, we are already requiring that they bring that land in, and the applicant has been working with MVC for 2 years. So there is an element of trust that the city is placing in Elmwood, that they will make good on their promise, as we've required them to bring it into the city. And that is a condition that MVC wants. They want that land in the town of Onalaska. The city has spoken a number of times with MVC very recently as of today, and it's their intention to give that land to the city.
I'm not questioning the intent, but if that is going to happen, then we wouldn't really need to have a condition saying that no common open space was required, because there would be open space.
There would be, once the PUD would be amended. As of today, there is no common open space. So the PUD as it stands would need to be amended to add that, and then it would essentially make that condition go away. But as it stands today, there is no common open space for this development. That's why the condition needs to be in there.
Okay, Amanda?
There are legal reasons that MVC, that Elmwood is asking us to not make it a condition.
Okay, thank you. All right, we need to get a motion on the floor. Someone?
I'll make a motion that we approve the general development plan application to create the fourth addition to the Country Club Estates Plan Unit Development containing 17 residential parcels to allow for special building envelope setbacks at the end of Emerald Valley Drive, including the tax parcels noted in item number 6 with the 11 conditions.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Craig. Discussion. Jan?
Just a question for the developer, or Katie. The cul-de-sac at the end of the new development, will it be a full-size cul-de-sac so that trucks and things can turn around in there? The temporary one is very small. You wanna ask that?
Yes, it will be paved this time, I promise. So what it was, when we did second edition, we put it in. 2 years later, I tore it out. We did third edition. We said, we're going to sell this quickly, so I'm not going to put it in this year and tear it out. Here we are 12 years later. But we will build this one.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion? Jared?
I think the developer brought up an interesting fact in relation to open space. I kind of look at the open space in the park as two different items. The open space, we're trying to, with performing that function as part of our review of plats, is saving of the trees, the natural character of the land, trying to ensure we have some spot like that so someone doesn't go in and bulldoze 40 acres and make it flat like we have seen in some of the developments we've had in the city in the 60s and early 70s. And you look at this, there's a lot of room where you could put much more density in this plat. And it was an interesting calculation from the developer that there's 5 acres of impervious on 90 acres of land. So I think their intent of meeting the rule is there. And I think that's the reason when the first couple editions of the country club were approved the way they were approved. I think that was the general consensus of the Plan Commission at that time.
Thank you, Jared. Anyone else? Commissioners? Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve the planned unit development for the 4th edition with the 11 conditions. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now we are on item 8, final implementation plan to create the 4th edition to the Country Club Estates Plan Unit Development containing 17 residential parcels to allow for special building envelope setbacks at the end of Emerald Drive, including tax parcel ID numbers 18-3566100 and 9-35-0, and portions of tax parcel ID numbers 9-34-0, 7-1356-0, and 7-1357-0. Katie?
Thank you, Mayor. This is essentially a repeat of the previous. There are no changes from the general development plan to the final development plan. It's to facilitate the development of 17 new residential lots here in the city of Onalaska. City staff put 11 conditions of approval for this development.
Thank you, Katie. What is the pleasure of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve with the 11 conditions.
Second.
Motion by Jared, seconded by Craig to approve with 11 conditions. Any discussion? Craig?
Yeah, I'd just like to say one thing. I know there's been some concerns voiced about it might affect my view, or how does this affect my property? I think my approach has always been, as long as developments are done adhering to the Unified Development Code, as well as the city's plan for development, I don't feel like it's incumbent upon me to tell people how they should build on their property or what they can or cannot do, as long as it follows the guidelines that have been laid down. Nor do I think it's my right to come to existing property owners and tell them what they can and can't do, as long as they follow the guidelines that apply to their properties. Just wanted to make that a statement.
Thank you, sir. Any other discussion? Motion on the floor is to approve the final implementation plan for the plan unit development. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9 is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion by Craig, second by Tom to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. We are adjourned. The time is 9:03.